Welcome to CXO Tech Summit and Awards 2021. Good afternoon to all the panelists. A warm welcome to the members who have joined us for this session. The topic is strategic cost optimization, changing IT dynamics. Just to introduce the panel today, we have four panelists who are from very diverse backgrounds and industries. We have representation from auto ancillary industry, the renewable energy business, credit rating bureau, and another from the depository, which is a capital market infrastructure institution. So we'll go straight to the topic, which we are discussing today, about strategic cost optimization. While many companies, depending on which industry they belong to, have been severely impacted by the pandemic, some companies have actually seen their business flourish in the last 15 months. That has been the experience. I think many of you will probably agree with that. Just a definition of what cost optimization is, which is probably across all industries. It is as defined by Gartner. It is a business-focused, continuous discipline to drive spending and cost reduction while maximizing business value. That is the cost optimization definition as per Gartner. So I'll go straight to the questions. What I'll do is I'll ask few questions and I'll go around the panel, and each one can give their views, and then we will go to the next question and so on. So the first question I want to ask is related to the balancing of speed, quality, and cost. While the topic is cost optimization, there is a balancing act that most CIOs need to do, where they have to balance between speed, quality, and cost. And I think many of us are familiar that you can do two out of three, you can't do all three. Either it is cost and quality, and then you compromise on speed, quality, compromise on cost, and so on and so forth. Now, the question to all the panelists: would you compromise on speed or quality to lower the cost? And how do you strike a balance? We'll start with Sharad Agarwal from JK Tyres.
Thank you, Mr. Dutta. It's a tough question to answer because the first two are required by us as IT and digital fraternity. Both speed as well as quality is required, but cost is something we need to take care of. So we found a very interesting way during this Corona times, because our partners, without compromising the speed as well as the quality, because of the tough times, they gave us a helping hand by managing the cost for us. So that was one option which was I will say that we used in the last year. But currently we are trying to find a balance by having a mix of resources, not in the delivery quality, but resources from a tier 1 company or a startup. We are mixing both to optimize the cost. So that's the model that we are trying to achieve. Thank you.
Okay, can we go with Pinkesh next? On same question.
Hello everyone. Yeah, hello everyone. So to answer this question, nowadays in IT, you know that many people are doing two things. Start small and scale when the business is scaling up as well. For example, so whenever you have to, we can deliver things very quickly. The speed can be done. Quality you can deliver it, but in the cost side, if you see in any project we execute in IT, there is an infrastructure cost, which is on the software license cost, which is very, very high, right? The software development cost is still manageable. The time at which you have to deliver, that's still manageable. But then, when you look at the overall cost of the development or product, it's very, very high. So what we have adopted the strategy here in CRIF is, whatever we are developing, we are adopting the cloud adoption a lot, so that, for example, on day one, we are not going to have hundreds of clients. We are going to have very limited clients to start working with us. So we can start with a small scale rather than planning for 5 years or 10 years. And we can start small and we can scale up overall infrastructure as and when the business is growing as well. This also gives us flexibility to try new products as well. So we are seeing a lot of benefits with this approach, and that's what we have started using it for overall cost optimization to keep cost under control. And that's where business is also benefiting, and they are also liking our approach. So, the focus is not on speed, the focus is not on compromising the quality, but on cost by starting small, I would say that.
Okay. Kushal, you'll go next.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So I agree to my co-panelist Sharad as well as Pinkesh, and I think to a greater extent now what is helping all of us is Opex versus capex. So like upfront investing in some technology or maybe in some services or taking some those kind of thing or having on resources on payroll. I think Opex or outsourcing things is helping us a lot in this space, but definitely a balance, a optimum level of balance we have to set between be it a speed, quality and cost. Because if we talk to business or our management team, manco team, management committee, they will never compromise. They want speed, they will not compromise on quality also, and they want it as at definitely at an optimal cost, and not optimal, it has a very aggressive pricing. So that's always a challenging thing, but I think Opex versus capex, we got some room, and definitely during pandemic, many partners have supported CIO fraternity by deferring some payment thing or giving some discount. So that was also quite helpful. But not just this thing. I think if we are delivering a business value, right? If business value is there, then management is also okay and they are ready to spend. But definitely, it's a difficult thing to balance it out.
Okay, so you want all three. I mean, management wants all three, and you have to do a juggling game to make sure that more or less all three are satisfied to some large extent. Jitendra, you want to go last?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So I would say so I can say like a CEO has a unique advantage in perspective of being aware of the entire organization and the IT landscape, irrespective of which department or which business IT solutions belong to, and therefore able to take the informed decision and how system across the enterprise will seamlessly integrate with one another. He is totally aware of it. Now, gone are the days when the CIO was considered as a head, I would say heading the cost center and support function. Now, as an IT head, a new role of is proactively assist business to create a value proposition, ideas, revenue potential in terms of revenue products and the services. Now, as far as I would say any particular cost optimization or any, I would say this kind of a speed cost optimization is concerned, whether need to assess in a different way, like is it a long term, is it a short term, is it a strategic, or is it some compliance perspective, or is it a need of an hour? So based on that, the decision have to be taken. Now there are various, I would say, points that I wanted to put it up over here, like the kind of a decision that we take. Does it really impact my customer? Will it bring additional revenue to the business? Is it a cost saving with this that I'm going to achieve, or does it help my employee? Now, will it create any new differential capability to solve any existing problem? Is it a regulatory compliance requirement or the law that I need to abide with? Or what cost if I'm not doing it? So I would say all the parameters based on the dynamics requirement, I would say the business requirement, or I would say as a growth perspective, we need to consider it. So that is what my submission.
Okay. So moving on, so we've talked about cost. Now, I think one important element in containing the cost to the extent possible is how to prioritize the different projects that most of us do. I mean, every company has hundreds of projects to do, and at any point in time, due to the bandwidth, you're able to do certain number of projects. Unless it is regulatory, then you have to do the projects without any prioritization. It has to break the queue and come first. So the question to all panelists, again, we'll start in a different order. One thing very important, I would like to say that for project prioritization, it is not an IT job. It is cross-departmental teams which are working together, which have to collaborate, and senior management also needs to be involved. Otherwise, everybody will say my project is more important, and then who's the referee to say this is the right project to take up? So my submission would be that you probably need a PMO, and certainly everybody has to collaborate to jointly prioritize projects. So question to all of you, how do you prioritize projects and decides which projects are to be taken up first? And are prioritization of projects primarily driven by cost optimization objectives, or are there other, probably some of the answers will be similar to what you've already said, but the prioritization of project is the main focus in this question, which I want to ask you. And how important is it that you need a PMO for managing all projects and monitoring them, and making sure the top management and other stakeholders are kept informed? We will go with Kushal first.
So you rightly mentioned, I think many such points already addressed by my panelists, especially Jitendra. I think he highlighted part regarding the prioritization thing, because it may be compliance, like certain things which are applicable from 1st of July. So we have to be compliant. So that was one thing where compliance is mandatory, no doubt about it. We have to take it, be compliant with all the compliances implemented by respective governing authorities. Second most important thing when we decide, or what approach I personally follow, is I always go in a consultative approach or an informative approach, rather than IT enforcing something on business or business enforcing something on IT. We take a joint call. What is really required, or what is the need of the hour? What is urgent? So we decide, okay, these are the 10 projects at hand, and this is the bandwidth which is available with, so be it, you can say, as a from a CIO perspective or different PMO, and all the projects, I always say it is also owned by business, not just IT. Because if business there is no ownership, then that project will, the chances of getting that project being successful is very less. So if that is the case, we make business more accountable, they being more take the ownership of those projects, and we then ask them, let's prioritize it. So it's a joint decision which we take, in addition to the things like where it is mandatory, no choice left for compliance part.
Okay. We'll go to Pinkesh next.
Sure, Joydeep. So, if I have to answer what we are actually doing in CRIF, we have actually divided projects into 4 categories. One is compliance. Second is for new business, new product line. Third is operational efficiency, which is more automation and all those things. And fourth is more of a technology projects, which is more looking forward kind of implementation of machine learning, big data, AI, or some technology obsolescence, like you are working on Oracle 10G and now 19C, it is out of support, those kind of projects. So we have divided into these 4 categories, and further technology is divided into 2 different separate categories, right? And the formula we use is 50-30-20, which means we focus more on 50% is more on run the business, 30% on transformation the business, which is more on the new product lines, and 20% on more futuristic technology like machine learning, how using the latest technology we can increase our business, provide better response to our customer and all those things. So 20% we do on the innovation. Based on that, in next 2 years we will be able to create some more business out of it, right? And compliance is like, you have to do it. If there's any compliance which has to be done, it is like on top priority, on top gear. We have a separate team who is going to work on it. So this is how we have actually distributed, and this is the methodology which we follow in CRIF year on year, and we have seen that it is successful for us to prioritize overall from Jan to December the project wise as well. Joydeep.
Okay. Next, Jitendra, you can go next.
Yeah. Okay.
One more thing, one thing which Kushal mentioned about the IT. Different costs are attached to different departments, and therefore they take a decision on their respective project. Actually, IT doesn't own anything. I mean, they are always doing for others. There is nothing called an IT project. If you do a Oracle upgrade, though it is an IT project, it is something which is required for the business to function. So there is actually no project which is IT project.
Exactly, but it will take time for people, business to understand that it is not an IT project. It's still
correct.
It has to be done for the business to run. But you still have to categorize in those 2 categories.
Yeah, that is true. You categorize that, because sometimes what happens is these upgrades and software obsolescence or hardware obsolescence, they get sidetracked and they get delayed because some business project is very important and that brings in revenue. This one doesn't bring in revenue. It just makes.
That's why bucketing is very important.
Yeah,
that 20% of my resources are always going to work on this. So it is like while doing the budget itself, it is very clear to the business that this budget has to be allocated for this kind of. And that's the advantage.
Yeah, bucketing is required. Otherwise, you will not be able to figure out which bucket it belongs to and then prioritize according to the individual bucket. And hence, the management together is taking a decision. It is one person who's saying my project is more important, I have to be number one. So it is a joint decision and joint success, joint failure also. Not just success to management and failure to IT. Jitendra.
Yeah. Okay, so whenever I would say the project things comes up in the picture, generally people talk about the PMO, and whenever I would say talk about PMO, everyone will think about like there is an additional process, additional documentation, additional resource will come up. Then there is a directly connected with the top management. So like it's a kind of an I would say internal rift that is there. So basically the PMO is basically to I would say fine tune the entire factory setup. I would say it's a kind of a factory setup. It will set up in a different way, like what are the resources to be allocated for what particular project, which one is a top priority, which one is a really required for the company as a strategization, like because he has the clear vision from the management side and he is a direct interface to the management. So as a PMO, he is totally under control. Okay, what are the projects that are running in existing system? Now there are various things as a PMO benefit that we get, like in terms of carrying out the projects in a different speed at a different phase manner. Something as I am coming up from the I would say the depository industry. So there is a continuous guideline that we keep on getting it from the SEBI. So there are I would say fine tune, and every now and then there is a requirement keeps on coming. So based on that particular requirement, we need to prioritize what, because everything is related to the compliance, because we have the I would say compliance related thing that is there. But as far as the resources needs to be allocated, or I would say resource needs to be diverted, or I would say needs to be hired, or maybe I would say to outsource. These are the things, the decision which needs to be taken up by the PMO offices. Now to categorize, I would say into the prioritizing the particular projects is like starting prioritizing project based on the whether it's an organization bottom line needs to be taken into account, whether it's to be projects will affect the people or the I would say customer or the team members over here. Setting up the priorities, identifying urgent project implementation. It is basically enhancement or maybe future ready kind of a thing, or I would say it's a need of an hour. And assessing your bandwidth, again there is a that will come in the picture. Sometimes we have to say no to the project because we have to learn that thing also, because certain things which are top priority which needs to be delivered, yes, it needs to be delivered, and we need to be very flexible in terms of project prioritization, because any moment of time any particular surprises will come. So the basically I'll prefer to have it something in a I would say putting up in a Gantt chart kind of a thing, like which one needs to be run in a parallel mode, which one needs to be run in a series mode, how to allocate the resources, what resources to be allocated, how the bandwidth needs to be adjusted accordingly. So these are the I would say various factors that we need to consider. Right.
Sharad, last.
Yeah, coming last is the easiest way because all of the things have been said. But yes, one thing that how we prioritize our projects is purely based on value. Means the project which gives more value most quickly is the one we'll do. So for that, even if we need external resources, we want to do outsourcing, insourcing, to have a startup aligned with us, we do all of those things. So we are given a free hand. For the PMO perspective, we have a central team comprising of couple of stakeholders from different functions, not for prioritizing, but for keeping informing everyone about the progress of the project. Apart from very complex projects, normally we try to keep our timeline of weeks, not months, say 5 to deliver multiple aspects. I won't say it to be a pure agile methodology. So currently what we are doing, till the time the base concepts of two projects are not clashing, we don't say no to any project. So that's probably might be a different different thing that I'm saying. We don't say no to any project. We have been given a free hand to hire any number of people, provided we are getting the value out of the investment.
Okay. So we move on to the another question, which is again, all of them are related to cost optimization, that being the topic. A little bit about the best practices to achieve cost optimization. I think you will all agree that it is not a one-off set of activities. It is a kind of a template, kind of a process to always get the best pricing and terms for all business purchases, and basically having this fine-tuned in such a way that the template and process drives the way you achieve cost optimization. So the question to all of you, how important is, in my opinion, one of the important things is standardizing, simplifying, and rationalizing platforms, applications, processes, services, whatever we do, standardize it so that there are no variants of a particular process or a platform or a service. If we standardize in terms of tech stack, if we standardize in terms of maybe the tools for use for applications, etc., you get more value in terms of less cost. You can do enterprise license, for example. And by having less number of tech stack elements, you need less number of skill sets to handle it, which is another challenge which most of us have. Another thing is obsolescence. So you have obsolescence of hardware and applications which are continuously happening. So that also has to be handled in a timely manner. Now, vendors and partners that you deal with, what are some of the best practices for partner relationships? That is the question which I would like to ask. I'll start with Jitendra this time, and then we'll.
Yeah, fine. So as far as I would say standardization or simplifying rationalization of the platform or application process services is concerned, yes, it's very much essential for all the organization. See, because like each individual organization still I would say working in a silos form or something, like they have their own individual budgets and everything, constraints over there, and there are multiple systems that are implemented. So just to avoid that kind of a multiple systems, or I would say managing the multiple system, it's overall I would say burden comes to the central IT team only. So in that particular thing, like there has to be a centralized team which will design what exactly the expectation, and it will try to optimize the number of applications which is required. Now there are certain, even they can have the homegrown application also, which will try to integrate with all the functionality which is required by the different various business division over here. So even that standardization, or I would say simplified that particular operation is very much required, which will reduce the number, I would say footprint of the entire infrastructure, definitely will improve on that. Now as far as the obsolescence of the system is concerned, the vendor is concerned, yes, I would say over the period of time, the legacy system is not going to work out. Yes, you need to have I would say the mindset of changing the, accepting the change and process further with whatever the changes that is required. Adapt the new technology. That is one of the thing. Now, even adapting the new technology, there are various vendors and SI partners are available. There may be, I would say, small-time partner who just sell it off and will go off. But there are, I would say, some partners or SIs who are available, which is engaging with you for the entire, let's say, 5 years kind of a thing or 3 years kind of a thing. The strategy, we call it as a strategy vendor, because even they invest within with us. So basically, the investment from both the side, with the partner side, with our side also, and then we grow the entire ecosystem. So that will help an organization also, and even the partners also. So that is a strategic partnership is very much essential whenever we select any particular partners or any particular projects that need to be done. Optimization is very, very essential. Time to time obsolescence of, I would say, hardware, or I would say any particular infrastructure, or adapting the new technology is very much required. So this is, I would say, the best way to cost optimization.
My views may seem to be a bit different from the group, but what I've learned the hard way is, yeah, best practices are needed. Probably you need to have a couple of enterprise grade applications, and there is a set of technologies that you keep on experimenting with. And because nowadays new technologies don't come with a shelf life of more than 3 to 4 years. So we shall, as we are going to technology one, we shall be prepared how will we phase it out. So there shall be a set of stable vendors who you can reach out for any help as and when needed. And there shall be a set of startups and bigger companies who you are exploring for newer technologies. So this is probably a diverse view from the group, but that's what currently we are doing. So we are investing and also exploring a lot of free and open source software, trying to do away with the regulated enterprise grade applications in pursuit of not just cost optimization, but in pursuit of excellence also. Thank you.
Which is not too different from others. I mean, it is maybe another angle which other people might not have spoken. I think others are also doing that.
True.
Kushal, you can go next.
Yeah. So I just want to first, I think, categorize this into two buckets. So first thing which we all talk about is short-term cost optimization. And when we say short-term cost optimization is negotiating the existing contracts, maybe changing the vendor, or maybe some decentralizing or centralizing things. Many people see IT as a cost center. So those kind of things are very, very traditional in nature. But if we think from a long-term cost optimization and cost transformation perspective, and I can take some examples also. In my previous, some of the companies, we delivered certain solutions whose benefit was 10x or 100x. So it was, from an IT perspective, also expenditure was increased, but overall from business perspective, we derived 100x value. So if directly or indirectly, actually it's a huge saving. If I tell you, like there was a company where we were having 700 workforce, field force into production and quality department, we saved 2 hours on daily basis of all those people. So in a month, it's a huge saving. If 2 hours per day, so which is almost 1200 hours in a day. So in a month, if they are work, and there it was a 6 days a week working for production department and quality department, not for the corporate, but so that's a huge saving. Now for that, definitely we invested in some platform, some technology which make user life easy, which reduce their monotonous activities. So I look those things also as a technological cost saving aspects, which save not just IT cost, it reduced the overall business cost. When we grew, we don't need to recruit more people. Similarly, one more company where we automated the meter reading, like typically in our home also, person coming, I don't know whether you have heard or not, in Maharashtra all of a sudden there were bills, like if you are receiving a bill of 3000 in a month, but all of a sudden your bill came 20,000 30,000 rupees for that month, because all of a sudden they registered all 3 months 4 months reading in a single month, so you were charged at a higher slab. Right now, had it been automated thing, right, how smartly you can do that. So automation, definitely there will be some cost, but if you have 10x benefit, so for me 9x is the saving. Or if I'm having 100x benefit, then 99x is the saving. So I always look at it from that perspective also. So I think we should also focus from a value proposition perspective. If we bring some strategic value to the business, so then IT will act as a strategic business asset rather than just seen as a cost center. So I think we should also think toward on those lines.
Now, when you say cost center, I mean, cost center, you do transfer pricing. I mean, like earlier we were saying that IT doesn't own any projects.
Yeah.
So,
So
nothing is
certain,
IT is not a cost center then.
yeah. So certain companies,
You divert the cost to some other department and say this is for you.
yeah. So we
If
have
something is
started.
common, you do a percentage and you say this is everybody's share is this and that.
Correct. So this is what I have done, and now also I am doing. So any budget, if I'm preparing, so my budget is going into operations budget. Like this, these things are required to for smooth operations. So be it so in that also there are 2-3 categories, like keeping the existing lights on. These are the things, and what all new initiatives we are going to do, and what is the business rationale behind it. But it goes into operations budget rather than we have a corporate budget which is common across, like be it O365 and those kind of things, which will be apportioned to all the SPVs, all the companies. But in general, it is going to my operations budget. So that is what we are practicing.
So as Kushal and Jitendra mentioned that we are not a cost center anymore. So in CRIF, we have our own PNL, and we are actually a profit center as well. You can say that not very high profit, but yeah, we make money as well within our business unit. Because we are providing services across to all the markets in all geographies, in Europe, Asia, in India as well. Now, from the vendor point of view, what you have mentioned. So for me, the way we are providing services to our business users, the vendors are for them, we are the business users. So we expect that there should be a planning, and you should give us some heads up whenever what kind of projects you want to execute and all those things. Similar kind of heads up if we collaborate with our vendors as well, and if we give them, okay, this is what our initiatives are going to be during the year, they will be prepared to provide us all the support as well during the year. So what happens normally that okay, I want these 2 resources by tomorrow. So in that way, the kind of services they will provide us will not be effective as well, and we will end up choosing from one vendor to another, from another to another, right? So it is a collaboration where we have to collaborate with our vendors so that we get the all kind of services what we expect from our business users as well. Another point which I want to add is on the infrastructure obsolescence and everything, right? There are a lot of now initiatives coming from all the vendors like IBM, HP, and all, where they are actually providing all the infrastructure for on the lease for 3 to 4 years, and then the technology get obsolescence. They again come and refresh it, and take away. So there are a lot of emphasis they are also giving that you don't have to use the infrastructure and take the burden of the refreshing the infrastructure on regular basis. Everything has been automated now from the vendor itself. So you have to partner with the right vendor from the long term who is doing a lot of innovation and all, and then these kind of things are also taken care nowadays. And you don't have to do the capex versus opex because it's all opex expenditure again. So, and from the software point of view, which was your third point, whether to use technology stack like, if you're stuck to Java based or .NET based or Go language based or Python based, whatever, it is important to be, technology stack should be, created in your company that we are going to develop everything on this technology. But then sometime it is important that choosing right technology for right platform is also very important. For example, if something can be done in Python and if you try to do in Java, I think it is going to be a lot of mess, right? So it is important that we choose right technology for the right thing, and that's where you need to be flexible, and then you have to collaborate with vendor to supply those kind of people if it is a one of its kind product, or if it is going to be long term, then you need to hire people on in-source, something like that. So that is all the strategy is going to be, but you have to invest a lot and understand that it is not going to be that okay, I have decided Java, so I'm going to develop everything in Java. It is not going to be like this. You have to be flexible enough to adapt to the new thing. So that's what I would summarize overall this conversation.
See, besides choosing the stack, another thing is that since you don't do everything in-house, so choosing a stack that way doesn't happen. If there is a package solution or a customized development that you are doing, and if you're partnering with a vendor, he will impose the stack which he has. So sometimes you don't have a choice, but you have to take it. A particular, for example, I'm familiar. For example, I remember COBOL-based credit card system. That is still in operation in almost every country. In US, it is very big. Or in the stock market, you have Sybase. There is huge base of users who are still using old technology, and it is not by choice that they're using it. That platform comes on that technology. If you are wanting a credit card platform, a lot of COBOL platforms are there. Similarly for insurance, So unfortunately, the choice of saying that we are only on this stack and we will not diverge or we'll do a little bit of exception, that actually doesn't happen in practical. Okay, moving on to another question, which is something I think everybody is talking about digitization, digital adoption, digitization, whatever you call it. I think every company due to the pandemic has been very fast in adopting digital technologies and adopting digital processes, etc. And now it is out of compulsion. It is not that I'll do it slowly and then as and when I get a chance, I'll do it. You have to do it, otherwise you will not survive. So the role of digitization, and some people also talked about cloud adoption. These are very important elements in doing things in the pandemic times. And not that it was not there before, but now it is gaining more importance. So by doing digitization and cloud adoption, does it help in cost optimization when you do digitization? That would be a very basic fundamental question. And does it also help in resource optimization? Because if you do that, then you will indirectly optimize the cost as well. And finally, the cloud adoption, which some companies are used to be slow and some companies adopted from day one. I know for a fact BFSI was very slow in cloud adoption because of lack of clarity from the regulator, what is allowed, what is not allowed. But in many relatively unregulated or less regulated industry, cloud adoption was much, much faster. So how important is cloud adoption in the cost optimization? And here again, cloud optimization, I think Kushal or someone mentioned that Opex, capex. Now, when you do cloud adoption, it cannot be capex, it has to be Opex. So some companies who would like to take the expenses in their own books and do a depreciation, then they will not do cloud adoption. So cloud adoption has to be Opex, primarily. Maybe you can do some kind of jugglery in financial jugglery and make it look like capex. Perhaps some companies will work with you on that, those lines. But I think accountants will not allow you to treat it as capex. So how important is cloud adoption in the cost optimization? And again, misnomer is that if you do cloud adoption, you save a lot of costs because you're using as much as you need and so on and so forth. But if you do it on a very small scale, I think the cloud adoption is not financially feasible. You have to have relatively larger scale of doing things on the cloud for you to get more benefit. So the question is cloud adoption, how does it help you in the cost optimization? We will go with Pinkesh first.
Sure, Joydeep. On the cloud adoption, right? So the way we have adopted, and I think for us it is working as well. So, for example, from the regulatory compliance, because we are RBI governed as well, we store all the data of the BFSI into our database. So we have to be very, very careful as well. So, of course, we were late in the adoption of cloud, as you mentioned rightly. But what we have done is, because we have to be compliant, so we have to have primary side and disaster recovery, right? So on disaster recovery side, keeping lights on, whenever disaster happen, then only the infrastructure will be used and all those things. So we have actually moved DR into cloud, so that we can start small there rather than having the 50% capacity and all those things. We can start small. So we have moved cloud DR to the cloud, starting small, and you can spin more and more VMs as if there's any disaster. So by doing that, we have reduced a lot of cost, okay, on the from disaster recovery side. Second, on the cloud adoption, what we have done is a lot of our products, which I mentioned in my first, while answering first question as well. In a lot of we are experimenting we are bringing a lot of new products to the market, and we don't know which is going to work, which is not going to work, right? We actually start with cloud, okay. So that we don't have to do the capacity planning, we don't have to invest a lot in the infrastructure, then again upgrade it, or take a big server which can suffice for 1 year. We don't have to do that. We can start small with the cloud. If the solution is scaling up, we are getting a lot of users, then we can scale up the infrastructure, and that's where we get benefit out of it. If it is not working, we can shut down the VM, the cloud is on, and then again the investment, whatever, even that is the small investment is it has gone. So these are the two strategy which we adopted for cloud. Third, we have to be ready for our product to be cloud. So we have to do all the testing on the cloud, because our clients who are going to use the products may ask, I want to deploy this product on AWS, on Azure, or on Oracle Cloud, or on Google Cloud. So for that also, we need to have some kind of cloud infrastructure, cloud agnostic infrastructure, where we can test our product and be ready for the clients. So that's where we have to adopt as well. So if you see, these are the main three areas where we have adopted it. Still our primary site is in the co-location, so we have not gone for primary on cloud, but we are evaluating still. In future it makes sense. If eventually the cloud cost come down, then it will really make sense. But currently our infrastructure is 24/7, because we receive data. The inquiries are coming on daily, every hour in the night itself, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So we cannot shut down our infrastructure. So we really don't see any benefit of moving from on-prem to cloud for primary side. That's where we have not done it. On the digitalization side, from the COVID situation, right? We were already digital. The only thing is our customer has actually gone digital now. So for them, of course, this is the cost optimization, because people don't have to visit the branch. They don't have to have people in the branch. From onboarding till underwriting till approval of the loan, everything has been automated now. And that's where our business has also grown, because we have come up with a product where the KYC verification is done online automatically within 2 seconds, right? So we have come up with products where we can help our customer to integrate their onboarding process and underwriting process, so that on the online channel, over the digital channel only, they can disburse the loan or credit, or approve any claim in the insurance. So that's what we have done now. So of course this is helping. We were ready, but now we have come up with more and more products, so that we can support our customer, Joydeep. So overall, this is, I would suggest, the way we are doing cost optimization on cloud and the digital journey, what we are doing right now.
Okay, thanks, Pinkesh. Kushal, you want to go next?
Yeah, Joydeep, thanks. One thing I want to highlight, Joydeep, you rightly mentioned that if you are going very small, so like larger load is on-premise and you are shifting or migrating a smaller load on cloud, so I don't think anyone will derive the real value, because you are going to occupy that physical infrastructure, so cost of your land or your space you are incurring, your cost of cooling you are incurring, your cost of electricity, you will be having some in-house resource to maintain that infrastructure you are incurring, right? If you are incurring all those costs, and if you are going or just for the sake of doing, okay, no, I'm a new generation organization, or we are doing some transformational projects, so we are doing it on cloud, right? So then for the sake of that thing, then definitely I don't think anyone will is going to derive the business benefit. uh, the reason why startups, and particularly the companies who are primarily operating from co-working spaces, they are more inclined towards cloud, because for them they always factor in, for me, if I have to take additional space, it's a cost I have to pay upfront, it is visible, right? I have to pay for the electricity, cooling, and if I need additional manpower also, right? Traditional companies, particularly manufacturing sector, having large factory premises, for them it's just a small data center room, so they don't mind giving that space. So I think that mathematics we have to do it very, very correctly. If we are going on cloud, then definitely we may have lesser resources in house internally managing those kind of things, right? So if that work, that, so, or maybe we are growing in terms of size, right, and we need more legs and hands, right? So in that case we can think of, okay, going on cloud, right? So those kind of permutation combinations someone has to think of while going on cloud. And another factor which COVID brought in, I saw many people like, if in fact certain people might be having some small server rooms where their AD servers are hosted, or some small servers are running, or maybe tele servers. Many organizations along with SAP, they are having tele for some purposes. So now the IT person has to visit the office during peak lockdown in 2020 just to ensure their servers are up and running properly. So that's a mandatory thing. Had it been it is on cloud, it's taken care by the proper the cloud hosting service provider, and they are doing it in mass. They are having proper facility, coordination, passes, everything, right? And when we do it, we have to do it for one or two person. So I think taking that as a balance, and also regarding hardware refresh cycle, right? Okay, okay. After every 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, some we are going to refresh the hardware. Now in cloud, for us, that's not the case. We can anytime change anything. We can scale up in terms of, like I mentioned earlier, also regarding capex versus opex. So upfront, I have to invest. I even considering my peak load, right? If I'm maybe in some front customer domain, all of a sudden if there is a peak, I have to keep that in mind, and I have to do my hardware sizing part. But in cloud, I have the flexibility to scale up for some time and then again scale down. So those kind of things are there. I think if we do that maths properly, then we can decide, okay, whether it is better to go on cloud or on-premise thing. But I think definitely everyone is now adapting towards cloud, and people are more interested in focusing on the core business and core areas, and leaving these things to the subject matter experts with less headache, more automated fashion. So that is definitely there. And coming to the second aspect which you highlighted, digitization. So if you see, there was a WhatsApp forwarded joke. So who led the digital transformation? Is it the CIO? Is it the business, or is COVID? So definitely all three played a crucial role, but there are COVID left no choice to anyone. There are lots of digital transformation, including working from home. Like earlier also IT folks can work from home, particularly if you see the outsourcing part, like for countries like US or Australia, lots of things are outsourced in India, and people are doing that, right? So it was possible. But in India, for business users, now they have seen for 1 year, okay, people are able to work from home. I know many companies who have actually reduced their rental space. So if they are having a sitting capacity of say 1,000 users, they have reduced it to say 300 users, and remaining they have said, okay, on call whenever required, you can come to office. And people are more moving towards co-working space, because it gives them a more you can say the value proposition. People can focus more on work rather than spending time in hectic traffic, particularly in metro cities. So I think definitely COVID has lead good amount of digitization, automation of things as much as possible. How without visiting certain things, be it earlier, there are many companies. So contract signing, a very typical thing. Like people used to sign everything physically. Now people are insisting for, no, we want to explore digital contract signing solution. People are offering Aadhaar based digital contract signing solution. So not necessarily you need to have a DSC token, USB based token, right? Or some digital signature kind of thing. If you have Aadhaar, using Aadhaar also you can authenticate and it is legally valid. So those kind of things people are looking at it, and in real sense, actually, we are moving towards the paperless thing.
Right. I think, as you rightly said, and all of us agree that some element of cloud every company has. In some industries, I think you have to do entirely on cloud. For example, if you have Amazon or Make My Trip who do one-day sale and all, it is impossible to manage where the infrastructure is static. Suddenly, you will have 10,000 times the volume, and you can't handle it. So certain industries, any online industry which is having not a very typical volume on some people will say in the morning I usually have this volume, in the evening I have this, and in the night, month and maybe. But when you do one day sale kind of activity, it is impossible to handle it by doing it in-house. So they will probably be 100% on the cloud, whether it's Flipkart, Amazon, Make My Trip, etc. I think Sharad, you can go next on this.
Yeah, thank you. So I agree to all my co-panelists that the cloud adoption metrics have gone a sea change, especially if I look them in last 6 years. So there have been multiple factors like the size of the application, what's the variability in the usage pattern. Is it going to scale exponentially a day and then scale down the other day? So is the growth very linear, or it is exponential? And it's, I would say, a bit of irregular. And another important factor is the security aspect. How easy or difficult it is to map the security. Though cloud is very, I would say, aligned to the best practices of security, but a normal offering may or may not come with it. You need to be aware of that. The part of managed service, how much managed services need to be adopted. So it will depend, as Kushal rightly said. Let somebody do it. Let somebody very proficient in that do it for you. Let us just understand what's good for all of us. But still, so means in some cases, still on-prem, co-located managed services come out better, optimized as compared to cloud offerings. And but yes, going forward, we have to design applications like we are a company which is born digital, which can be both multi-cloud, which can be hyper-cloud. So wherever we want to host them, use them, we can do. So that's my take. Thank you.
Jitendra, you are not using much cloud, not that I know.
Okay. Yeah. So like being, I would say, one of the BFSI industry, and like we are highly regulated, I would say, industry. Of course, adapting the technology, like we are the forefront in that. But having that cloud kind of a setup, which is again the regulatory compliance requirement wise, we are not able to put it up everything onto a cloud. And of course, the core, I would say, the business over here is like the financial data, which is the, I would say, center of the crux for which we are managing for all the financial institution. So there are, I would say, like the points which I can mention about like digitalization. Like the thing is that every business is now required a technology, and it's a technology. This particular COVID has really proved that the team itself is, I would say, the very much essential and the required for the any particular business or the organization. Now, when I talk about, like, I would say, adoption of the technology, or I would say cloud adoption and other thing, it is something like even with the cost optimization. So for any particular organization, let's say to save money, I move it onto cloud, then to get a better customer experience and other thing. But by doing so, we have to invest heavily onto the cyber security and other ecosystem of that. We may end up in providing 24/7 kind of a services, and hence increasing the resources also at the back end level. So there are, I would say, bright ideas and everything is available, but not all as a cost optimization is, I would say, idea or worth and effort of that. And the second point is that what is digitalization in terms of, like, even the Microsoft recently stated that customer experience will overtake the price and the product for the key brand differentiator, and how the customer is going to get experience, because whatever the customer is expecting right now, right here, immediately on that particular, maybe on a particular mobile device or something, which is very much essential. Now, how you establish the technology in a better engaging way with the customer will vary, depends on the nature of the business. And it may be use the data analytics or track buying behavior, or maybe introduction of a digital communication channel, creating a digital feedback loops kind of a thing. Ultimately, the digitization is how best that you can communicate or interact with your customer, and how you get connected with your customer with a seamless user experience. That is the main crux out of it, and it's really essential. Of course, as Kushal mentioned, COVID taught us everyone, okay, yes, digitization is very much required, because earlier people used to have a branch offices and all that. Now it is now reduced to reduce the footprint. Everything is online, digital, even the account opening and other kind of a thing that is done online, and which is really efficient system right now.
So, what has been the impact of COVID in your respective organization, and did that play a role in how you handled cost optimization? And another related question is, how were cost management priorities before COVID, and how did it change, and how is it in comparison to how it is now? And I'll start with Sharad.
Thank you, Mr. Joydeep. So, the most important change that we saw as JK Tyre was adoption of existing digital technologies in the ecosystem. So, just to give you one example, so our digital payments, though we had the complete platform available over mobile, over web, and in other all the possible formats, it was not even say 15 to 20%. But during the COVID, because there was no place to reach a bank, so we have been touching regularly more than 95, somewhere between 95 to 98% of digital payments. So that was just an example to showcase that COVID helped us in adoption of the available platforms, and that led us to do more improvisation to make them more customer friendly. That's one part from the COVID related. From cost optimization, yes, as I earlier told that we got some supporting, helping hand from the partners. But important thing to note here is our overall budgets did not decrease. They rather increased, means the digital spend increased to get more adoption of technologies, which is user friendly, which is ultimately adding to the bottom line of the company. And the change pre and post COVID, I would say that people have become more digital savvy. Even the board has become digital savvy. All the C-suite has become digital savvy, and now they look towards solutions which are digitally aided, digitally enabled, digitally supported. Means whatever we want to say, but yes, they try to find a way towards that. So just to give you a very small context, even so, wherever we want to bring in a digital side to any solutions, there are substantial, you can at least shave off a couple of percentage in any of the area that you are trying to do. That's all from my side. Thank you, Joydeep.
Thank you, Sharad. Kushal.
No, I agree with the Sharad. So definitely COVID has helped us in terms of saving some cost. So you already mentioned regarding be it a real estate cost, and then lots of admin expenses, like people are not going to office, so there is no admin expense, no tea, no snacks, and all those things. In IT perspective, and no electricity cost also. People are using their electricity bill. They are paying electricity bills which they are consuming at home. So for company, it's a saving. But there are, and partners also definitely helped us, and I think everyone. So although some CIOs budgets have increased, some CIOs there was a cost pressure because we need more cash in hand. We need more cash in hand to support the business operations. But I think partners have supported, so everyone I think has saved cost on that front as well. Certain businesses have flourished. Like if I take example of online businesses or things like Big Basket or BB Daily, those kind of things, they have flourished like anything. Or the cases like Sharad mentioned, the digital payment thing, which they were pushing, it was only 10-15%. Now it is more than 90%. So those are good things. In our solar energy perspective, if I say from a business side, so COVID gave us the one of the most cleanest energy ever we have produced, and that was peak summers. Last year during peak summer, the pollution level were all time low. So definitely solar generation will be on bit on higher side. So that was a positive angle for our industry. But overall, I think costs have reduced. IT budgets to some extent, definitely it has increased. So yeah, that's all from my side.
In fact, I read somewhere that Google, because people are working at home, if they are not working in their home where they are, the office is located because they used to go to the office. If they have shifted to a cheaper place, they are deducting from your salary. So that's another very innovative way of saving cost by the company, where they'll pay you whatever they pay, they'll deduct something because you're staying in some village or staying in some remote place and taking advantage of the situation and working from home.
Yeah,
Or work-
some companies are doing that, and I don't think it's a right way for us, for anyone. It is ultimately the work what matters. Now, if someone is saving, someone is staying in a more healthy place, more green space, and definitely at saving some money because of lower real estate pricing, there is no harm in that, because employee health will be of paramount most utmost importance, and then employee staying in those areas, he'll be less stressed, he'll be able to focus more on work.
True, but I mean, Google has actually implemented it. It
Yes,
came
yes.
out in
Google
the
has
media,
implemented. I also read that article.
and it's surprising that nobody has raised any hue and cry about it, and others have not adopted. Pinkesh,
For us, especially pre-COVID, we were doing a lot of so the projects which we were doing pre-COVID, we still continued in COVID situation as well. The only thing changed for us because data is very important, so more importance given to data security. The operations which we never thought that we will work from home completely has actually been shifted to work from home. So because of that, we have actually taken up some projects which to tighten our security, to enable people who are working on data to work from home. We have implemented some new tools as well. So from that point of view, of course, some of the IT cost has been increased, but at the same time, I've told you that we have increased the cloud adoption, which has actually balanced out the overall, the increase in the cost on the cyber security and security side with the infrastructure cost. So that's how I would suggest. I would say that I would summarize the overall cost post-COVID situation.
Okay, yeah. So the thing is that as all management decided, like even in our industry also, the people have, I would say, like the direction given, like cut on capex, go on to opex mode, go on to sustenance mode, or I would say continue on the sustenance mode. So like no investment or major capex investment that we need to carry out. And I would say in the financial industry, all total financial industry, the change is a constant. Revamp, rebuild, and reinvest is what I would say that each one have to follow, and that is what even we people are doing it. And there is 3R that it comes to financial service industry very much essential for it. And there are twofold of I would say changes that we people have seen, like desire to reimagine the business for the long term and the need to remain profitable in the short term. So in our case, like as I would say in a depository business also, like the number of accounts, or I would say the number of participants increased in multifold kind of a thing during this particular pandemic time. So like we were, I would say, like initially 2 crore kind of a demat account, and within the I would say year time is a 3 crore, and now within 6 months we are touching 4 crore. So it's a lot of I would say churn up that is happening. Lot of business demand kept on increasing. But the point over is that reduce capex, continue on the opex part, go to the sustenance mode, which is what very much essential for this particular in a given situation.
all the speakers, thanks to all the sponsors and organizations. And finally, thank you to the audience. I hope they will patiently listen and they will get some insight out of this topic. Thank you all once again. I hope it has been useful.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.